Hi everyone, and thank you very much for joining me. In today's session, we'll be looking at digital transformation, and we'll be talking and discussing the advantages and challenges of moving to the cloud. You can use the Q&A on the right-hand side of your screen within the Hop-In software, and that way you can sort of reach out to me and you can ask questions as I'm talking. We will do a Q&A at the end. This session is 45 minutes, so I'll start now. So welcome, my name is Adam Veitch and I am a product manager at Aspire Technology Solutions. And in this session, we're going to discuss digital transformation. Within the session, some highlights that I hope that we'll be able to cover will contain cloud adoption. We'll explore the benefits and challenges of digital transformation. We'll talk about utilizing multi-cloud and hybrid cloud to hopefully overcome some of these challenges. And then we'll also talk about common migration challenges that people see with the cloud and look at some common use cases on how those challenges have been overcome. So like I said, I'm a product manager at Aspire Technology Solutions, and I've been a product manager for over 2 years now, having over 7 years in the IT industry. So a little bit of an overview about Aspire and what we do. So we were established in 2006, and we are a managed service provider and managed service security provider as well. We have over 240 current employees, and we currently operate with over £27 million turnover, and we actually have plans to grow this to up to 50 million by 2025. We have an ongoing focus on customer service, improvement through efficiency and innovation, and we're really data-driven as well, and we use that to help drive our efficiencies and innovate. We were the Northeast Company of the Year in 2020, and we currently have a world-class Net Promoter Score of over 82. At the moment, we have over 1,500 customers, and that is rapidly growing. So a bit about what we do at Aspire. We really do have a solution to meet every sort of IT requirement, but essentially we have 5 main pillars for the areas for which our products operate. You'll see on screen, you'll see the different pillars for where we focus our attention to. So that includes cybersecurity. We have a full stack of cybersecurity products, and this is led by our in-house security operations center that operates 24/7. Within there, we offer services such as managed detection and response, as well as SIEM, as well as traditional IT security, things such as hosted firewalls, next-gen antivirus, and endpoint detection and response, and that kind of stuff. We also have connectivity solutions and products. The most popular of this is our ultra-fast dedicated connectivity product, which offers businesses with super fast connectivity and some really fast lead times, as well as rapid response. We have a full cloud portfolio as well, and that contains private cloud, public cloud, and business continuity. By that, with public cloud, we offer Azure AWS services. With private cloud, we operate our own private cloud model that runs on VMware, and that's hosted within our data centers, of which we currently have 6 within the UK. With business continuity, we offer products such as disaster recovery, we offer backup services, as well as protection for SaaS services such as Microsoft 365 and Google G Suite. With our managed services products, we offer technical support, and that's led by our technical in-house service desk. That's a network operations center that runs 24/7, and that will offer services such as server, cloud, networking, telephony support, as well as third-line teams offering all kinds of support to users and businesses. And finally, we have our unified communications, and that's all of our voice products. So we offer hosted voice, on-premise voice, things like Mitel, as well as our own cloud voice solution. And we also operate in the mobile section as well. That's offering mobile networks, 4G, 5G, as well as minutes and data and texts. Outside of this, we have professional services teams, which can perform tasks such as digital transformation and help businesses get involved and get more out of their IT. Now let's look at our customer base. At the moment, we have over 18,000 technical support end users, with over 11,000 supported for their telephony. We operate with over 3,400 ISP connections, and like I said, we're our own ISP and offer connectivity solutions to businesses. Last year, we had over 87,000 support incidents which flowed through our service desk. And as well as that, we have over 2,600 virtual machines running in our private cloud platform. As it stands, we currently have over 1,500 customers, and that is currently growing rapidly. Now let's look at the agenda and talk about what I want to get out of today's session. So firstly, we'll talk about the growing demand for cloud, and we'll look at use cases and how that's grown and what businesses are doing following the COVID pandemic. We'll then talk about the benefits of cloud and what benefits businesses can realize by moving towards digital transformation. With that comes potentially some disadvantages or some challenges. So we'll discuss digital transformational challenges and what the common challenges are when migrating to the cloud. Finally, we'll talk about multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, and we'll talk about how this can overcome some of the challenges seen with digital transformation. So firstly, let's look at the growing demand. So organizations really are accelerating digital transformation. And digital transformation is a driving force for business, and that's no matter the industry. Organizations are continuing to accelerate digital initiatives and advance their business through cloud to gain a competitive edge. And that focus is now more important than ever today as the world begins to move beyond the global pandemic and into a new post-COVID reality. Some stats that I've got on screen: 80% of enterprises will have the mechanism in place to shift to cloud-centric infrastructure and applications. And 72% of organizations reported that their industry's pace of transformation has been accelerated as a result of the pandemic. Both of these were stats taken at the end of last year from IDC research and really show that cloud is driving business forward, but it's also working both ways, and that businesses are using cloud as a way to gain a competitive edge over their competition within their sector. Towards the end of the slide deck, I'll cover off some of the different sections and sectors and how they've used cloud to help drive innovation within their sector. Now let's look at some of the benefits of cloud and digital transformation. Cloud benefits offer you ways to create significant business advantages whilst accelerating digital transformation initiatives. And some key benefits that I'd like to talk about today include security, and that's providing greater protection across your cloud and on-premise environments. With security and with threat detection services, it really enhances the wraparound security that you can offer for your data and your applications. If we look at cloud security, the two main sides to that are the physical security. With cloud, you're taking potentially the security risks of storing your data on-premise away and hosting that in a data center that comes with all of the physical security. Whether that be physical cages locking your data with 24/7 security, a front desk where you need key cards or identification to be able to access the data center halls, or whether it be the actual physical tin that keeps your data safe, the fact that you can't just plug in and access that as you would if it was on-premise within a comms room or even in your same office. In terms of virtual security, we look at services now that are running in the cloud, things like threat detection services, endpoint detection and response. Running security services from the cloud offers great benefit when compared with traditional IT security. Now, as we move forward with cloud security, we can offer things such as signatureless-based anti-malware and endpoint detection and response software, which means it's not relying on running physical scans on your devices and instead can rely on services such as AI within the cloud using advanced data to be able to detect and spot threats. In addition, when we look at the time to market, by moving to the cloud, it makes it easier to innovate and bring new product services and enhancements to your customers at an accelerated pace. That ties in nicely with scalability is that enables you to meet surges in customer demand as needed. And that's without straining your operational teams, infrastructure, and budgets. In the past, if you needed to scale up your business and you needed to add resource for your IT to be able to meet customer demand, that would quite often involve having to go to market and purchase physical equipment to set that up and deploy it within your network, which could be time-consuming and costly. With cloud and digital transformation, that can now be done literally at a click of a button, and you can spin up and spin down the workloads to meet your business demand and your business requirements. All of that is helped with the costs and the way that you shift from a legacy capital expenditure model to more of a flexible approach with operational expenditure. With cloud, you can be cost effective in the way that you strategize and you cost your IT by only paying for the resources and services that you can consume. And again, that is in an operational expenditure model, paying monthly for what you require, as opposed to paying an upfront cost for server hardware that may be out of date in 3 to 5 years' time. It also brings advantages such as modernisation and allows you to uncover efficiencies by helping to attract and retain customers as well as employees by offering and by able to bring to market modern apps and infrastructure operating from the cloud. And next, with added resiliency from running data in the cloud, it helps you with your business continuity planning for services such as disaster recovery. This helps you implement a strategy that's easier as opposed to traditional IT on-premise. By that, what I mean is that when you're running services in the cloud, it's far easier to run stuff like backups to another cloud, or you can offer and utilize services such as high availability or active-active to ensure greater business continuity. Just some key stats and some key statistics that I've got on screen there around cost and operational efficiencies with the cloud. Cloud is allowed for up to 25% in productivity of IT staff, as well as over $10 million in savings from avoided on-premise infrastructure and staff costs. Because you no longer have to look after, manage, and upgrade the physical hardware that you keep on site, and instead that's hosted in a data center elsewhere, and you just can rely on running your business successfully. Another key benefit of the cloud is the ability to turn your data into a strategic asset. When your data is in the cloud, you have the opportunity to turn it into one of your most strategic assets. Studies have shown that organizations that embrace the value of data fare better in adjusting to rapid market changes. They are able to be more agile, anticipate and predict change, as well as pivot as needed to better serve their customers. Data-driven transformations yield significant benefits. And from the Harvard Business Review, How to Lead Digital Transformation, the key stats shown here were 54% in increased revenue performance for businesses utilizing cloud services, with a 44% faster time to market, 62% improvement in customer satisfaction, and 54% increased profit results. And with a cloud-based approach to data, that can help your business to unify and connect all of your data assets, scale and accelerate your approach to data, as well as apply deep analytics and AI to gain rich insights and drive better decisions based on the data you're able to pull from your business and your IT infrastructure. I have mentioned security as one of the key benefits of the cloud, but I thought it would be useful to just deep dive and see what that looks like with a public cloud service and how you can discover and control applications and data within the cloud. So as you can see on screen, the screenshot shows that you can discover all of your cloud app and services used within your organization. And this is using Cloud App Security from Microsoft. With this, you can do features such as assessing the risk and compliance of cloud apps, as well as govern discovered cloud apps and explore enterprise-ready alternatives. This can offer services such as the ability to rate apps, gives you insight into your data and assess what the risk is across your IT estate. However, with digital transformation, often comes some challenges, especially in migration. A key stat from the Flexera State of Cloud report from the end of last year showed that 80% of organizations are predicted to migrate towards the cloud towards the end of 2025. And as you can see to the chart on the right-hand side, this shows the types of clouds currently used by respondents for the Flexera report. What's an interesting stat here is that public cloud only for people that have migrated and businesses that have migrated to the cloud is only at 19%, which is somewhat surprising. Private cloud only is actually only at 2%. And actually, the biggest amount of respondents and the biggest type of cloud that's used is a hybrid or multi-cloud setup. And what this is using multiple clouds, whether it be public, private, or on-premise, to help create a hybrid cloud that gives the best of both worlds. And as we can see from the chart, 78% of businesses from this respondent survey are actually using hybrid cloud. And this is the future, as opposed to being specifically in a public or private cloud environment. Now, if we look at some of the typical cloud migration challenges, as well as what's most frequent. You can see the most frequent challenge there is understanding app dependencies, as well as assessing technical feasibility. Next, we have the right size and selecting the best instance, as well as assessing the on-prem versus cloud costs. Knowing the implications of bring your own licensing, as well as optimizing costs post-migration, is also around the middle in terms of what the most common challenges we're seeing. And towards the end, we have challenges such as selecting the right cloud provider, the actual process of migrating the apps and data, prioritizing apps to migrate, and managing the app post-migration. By using a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud environment, it can help you overcome some of these challenges. In addition, managed services providers like ourselves are well equipped in the cloud space to help with some of the cloud migration challenges, whether that be in running cloud readiness reports to seeing actually what use you get out of the cloud, as well as offering services such as the actual physical migration of your cloud applications and data, and helping you manage costs to ensure that you're effectively getting the most out of digital transformation. When assessing and looking at technical feasibility, private cloud can also be considered in a hybrid cloud approach to help mitigate some of the challenges seen with technical feasibility challenges. For example, some application vendors are very specific on the latency requirements needed to be able to run their successful application in a way that's high performance and gives value to customers and end users. By utilizing a hybrid cloud approach, it helps you utilize the best of both worlds. For example, private cloud can often be seen as a faster and better way to connect to cloud services in a way that's also has less of an impact on latency. So if you have applications that are very latency intensive or require super fast latency with minimal downtime, private cloud in a hybrid cloud approach can often be the way to go. Now, if we look at what a hybrid and multi-cloud strategy actually is, as you can see on the diagrams, public cloud strategy is on the left side. And this works by your on-premise connecting to a public cloud platform such as Azure, GCP, or AWS to be able to utilize the cloud in order to effectively manage your workloads and data. An example of this would be utilizing a service such as Microsoft 365 or Office 365 for running your services such as your Outlook, so your emails, your Exchange, getting software updates for things like Word, or utilizing file storage such as SharePoint or OneDrive. You can also run applications and workloads directly in the service such as a public cloud like Azure if you're going to run virtual machines, or you're going to run services such as software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service if you're running virtual machines. With a hybrid and multi-cloud strategy, what we actually mean is still utilizing some public cloud services such as Microsoft 365, but actually when it comes to hosting your actual servers, if you're just looking for infrastructure as a service, somewhere to run effectively your servers and data, you could actually be potentially more beneficial running those services in a public cloud or a private cloud platform in conjunction with public cloud and on-premise to get a mix out of all of the best services. As you can see on the diagram, a best case scenario, and what we often see from our customers, is running public services and public cloud for services like Microsoft 365 and being able to take the great advantages from that service, things like the always available 365 days a year accessibility, hosting it in secure Microsoft data centers. But then when it comes to critical applications that are latency sensitive, it can often be beneficial to run those services in a private cloud platform that's cost effective and has fixed monthly costs that are predictable and means the business is not met with unexpected costs, but also the user experience is great because you're not having to traverse the internet to access those services. Quite often with the private cloud platform, it can be partnered with connectivity from that MSP itself. And what that means is direct connection to your resources so you can access it almost as if it was on-premise with you in the same office, with minimal latency, leading to a great user experience. Now, if we look at hybrid cloud modern use cases, and with a multi-cloud and hybrid cloud approach, we'll talk about some of the key drivers for why organizations use this approach and how you can take advantage of additional cloud capabilities that yield value in other areas. Firstly, I've already touched on it, but if we look at legacy systems and custom requirements, so like I said before, most application vendors are still quite specific on where you run that application. There's a lot that are still and are really happy for you to run that wherever you like, whether it be public cloud or on-premise, but some are still quite specific and have fixed custom and legacy requirements that mean you can only really run that on-premise. You can get around it with private cloud if you have connectivity in place. And what we've actually seen from some of our customers is the ability and the actual sign-off from application vendors to be able to run that application within a private cloud platform if the latency is kept minimal enough. What that means is you can still run some of your applications in a private cloud, but then for services that you need that aren't as latency sensitive, you can still run that in the public cloud environment. Next, if we look at regulations and data sovereignty, with a public cloud, you can choose which region to keep your data in. However, some customers and some businesses require data to be kept in a more specific location and actually have access to that data. You can overcome that by hosting some of your data on-premise still or in a private cloud environment with a multi-cloud or hybrid cloud approach. And that helps you overcome some of that to be able to still host your data in a resilient and secure environment, but it means you still have control over that data and you know exactly where that is, as opposed to being in the cloud somewhere where you don't know where it is. Next, there may be some latency and technical hurdles that a modern hybrid cloud environment and setup will help solve. Like I've mentioned before, latency is a big factor in this one. And with a public cloud service, typically you would be accessing those services over the internet. You can offer or you can utilize some services such as direct connection from Amazon, or you can use similar services from Microsoft to be able to have a connection from your environment, if you're in a data center, to your Azure or AWS workloads. However, that still is still at a minimum of 15 millisecond latency, which often and sometimes isn't enough for some applications. With a private cloud, this drops dramatically, and in some cases, you can actually have access to your applications with under a millisecond latency, which helps overcome some of those technical hurdles. And next, if we talk about cost effective, with public cloud services, it is great having that in an operational expenditure model, but if you're not careful, those costs can quickly spiral and become out of control. It's really important to be looking at how your virtual machines are running if you're running them in a public cloud environment, and you have to be very specific and you have to be very careful about what data you take out of a public cloud platform, because this can often have associated costs that can quickly spiral if not controlled. With a private cloud platform, this differs a little bit, as you can have reliable and predictable costs per monthly for what you use that's easy to control and does not scale up and down depending on what data you take in and put into the platform. This differs slightly to the way services such as Azure works and means you can have more control on your cost and also be more cost effective with the way you strategize your IT. Now, if we look at some industry use cases and how they're using digital transformation to drive their sector and solve industry-specific challenges. So if we look at the retail section, the cloud is helping retailers transform. And with that, it's giving them the ability to reimagine the retail experience. In addition, they can build more resilient supply chains and know their customers better. With manufacturing, cloud is helping manufacturers to create more agile factories, increase supply chain resiliency, and unlock innovation to deliver new services. With financial services, they are looking to the cloud to be able to deliver a differentiated customer experience and modernize core banking and payments to manage risk across the organization and protect against financial crime. And with healthcare organizations are enhancing patient engagement, improving clinical and operational insight, and protect health information. That's just 4 industries that are getting the most out of cloud and are really driving digital innovation. However, cloud isn't industry specific, and cloud can be, in digital transformation, can really work well across any industry. And now how to get started and what to consider when migrating and looking towards migrating for the cloud. First, what you need to ask yourself and what you need to look as a business is what's the immediate business need and what are the short-term business goals? Is that optimizing costs? Is that the shifting from a CapEx to an OpEx model? Do you have old legacy hardware and equipment on premise or potentially somewhere that where it needs to be upgraded? And will shifting to that OpEx model means you can optimize costs and get rid of that legacy equipment without investing upfront on new hardware? Or are you looking to realize cloud benefits quickly, whether that be features such as the resiliency of hosting in the cloud environment, the added security, the always available uptime, and the ability to access your data from anywhere. This can also help with remote working and help facilitating your users with the tools to enable remote working. Next, the question is, how hard is it to do? What is the complexity and what are the drawbacks from moving your environment to the cloud, and is it technically feasible? Is there a level of skilling or retraining needed for your staff to be able to access their environment and their IT systems? And what does the cost look like to be able to do that? And how long realistically will it take to do it as well? In addition, what are the costs and resources needed to be able to do the actual migration to the cloud? There is services such as cloud readiness assessments that your business can undertake that looks at your current infrastructure and assesses what can be done to move that to the cloud and what it would look like actually running in the cloud. And next, looking at what longer term business goals you have. Is that reducing the time to market, being able to be agile in business and to adapt quickly to moving business changes and requirements? Is that looking at app innovation, and depending on your sector, is that looking at what technical improvements can be made to utilize cloud services to help enhance your product portfolio and your products and services? Or is that looking at how you can enable your workers to be more productive and improve productivity by utilizing public cloud services or even private cloud services? For example, using services such as Microsoft 365 can really drive productivity and also improve and enhance collaboration across your workforce. Whether that be using services such as Microsoft Teams, using services like SharePoint to be able to host all of your data within the cloud in a SharePoint environment where it can be collaborated on in real time, and your business can work together on tasks and activities to get the most out of the cloud, but also the most out of each other. Or is that application development velocity and being able to improve the time that it takes to develop, and also the development experience for everybody across your business. As an MSP, we help businesses migrate and modernize their cloud. So there's tons of research online that can help you get started, but also there's local MSPs like Aspire, like ourselves, that can help you get moving forward and help complete things like readiness assessments and look at how your business can get the more out of the cloud. That's the end of my presentation deck, and we now have a Q&A at the end where we can discuss questions and we can talk about potentially challenges and how that can be overcome within the cloud. If you would like to leave a question, you can leave it on the right-hand side. In addition, following on from the session, if anybody would like to get in touch with either Aspire or myself, you can do so by contacting us, and my email will be available on the session. Thank you. I can see your question there about to leave around digitalizing everything you can. Means more energy uses in terms of systems for storing and processing e-data. Do you know of any studies that increase in energy and carbon emissions? I'm not sure if this one was for this session or one of the carbon emissions, the other sessions that are around energy. But yeah, if you want to reach out to me, we can look at that for you. We can look at sort of what we're doing in terms of carbon emissions and how we're using sort of things like green data centers to help the environment. Just to note as well, this session is recorded, so it will be available afterwards. And if there's anything that anybody wants specifically covered off, or anybody wants to sort of chat further with Aspire or myself, you can do so. My email address is just adam.veitch@Aspire Technology Solutions or at aspireTS.com. Just wait for some questions there. As you can see from the partner logos on this slide here, you can see in terms of who we partner with for our cloud services. So we utilize Microsoft services for host and public cloud services, but we also offer our own private cloud, which is delivered via VMware. And we find VMware is a very good partner for private cloud, but they also offer the ability to run that within your own private cloud as well. If you want to run that on-premise or run that in one of your own data centers, VMware is one of the market leaders in that section and helps you utilize a multi-cloud approach to get the most out of hosting your data and also the benefits of using multiple suppliers and vendors, because each one has their own sort of advantages. Okay, one question that's just come in there is around the level of control that you get with private cloud as opposed to public cloud and on-premise. That's a good question. So if we look at the level of controls, With on-premise, it's always going to give you the most amount of control, because realistically, you're keeping that environment within your own environment, and you have complete control over that hardware and data. With a public cloud, this goes away somewhat, because you're no longer seeing the actual infrastructure itself, and that is now within the a public cloud environment itself. With a private cloud, it can sort of be the best of both worlds. If you still maintain control over that data, you can still use services such as self-service functionality to be able to access and spin up and spin down virtual machines as you would in a public cloud platform, but you can actually know which data center that data is hosted in. A couple more questions there. Yeah, hi Gary. So, Spoke software company, you upload, provide solutions to businesses to provide more combined components, ITs, and simple. Yeah, Gary, absolutely. There's multiple different avenues that we can take. As an MSP, we have multiple sort of different venues. So we have a channel partner section to our business where we can actually help and assist other MSPs and also other businesses with the cloud, and then help resell that onto their partners. And that can be everything from pre-sale support to our professional services to our actual core infrastructure and core products as well. So we obviously have our own private cloud platform that we can give to effectively channel partners that can rebrand it as their own and sell it out. But we can also work on like referral schemes as well. If people bring if people bring business in, we can also pass on business for services that we don't offer ourselves as well. So that's absolutely in Gary. We can follow up after this. That's no problem. Hi Talib, no problem. I will follow that question up around the carbon emissions one. Another question. I don't know if the Q&A is working because I'm getting a few direct messages in, but another question I've got is around the resiliency around private cloud and how that differs from between the three, I guess. Ultimately, with a public cloud platform, that is going to offer you great resiliency. You can effectively choose with public cloud on what resiliency levels and what service level agreement you get. So with storage, you can have different levels of storage to what each level gives you is effectively how many times that storage is replicated. With a private cloud platform, you can do sometimes more. So for example, with ours, we also offer active-active as well, which effectively means that you can have your environments running in multiple data centers. So if an actual data center was to completely fall over, completely be destroyed, your environment and your critical workloads will be safe, and they will be replicated over into a different data center. And that works active-active, where the storage is synchronously replicated across the two. With a private cloud, with a non-premise, obviously the resiliency levels are dependent on what you put in place yourself. It's always best practice to have backups and also a disaster recovery and business continuity strategy in place, so you can replicate that to another environment, whether it be a data center that you own yourselves or a data center hosted by somebody else, just so that if the worst does happen and something happens to your on-premise environment, you're not at square one and you haven't lost completely everything. Is public cloud always... So the next question I have is public cloud always hosting servers in the cloud? No. With a public cloud, you can host servers in the cloud, but really it's the different types. So you have infrastructure as a service, which is hosting your infrastructure, the actual servers, and that would be hosting your servers in the cloud. But you can also have platform as a service as well, and that would be hosting the actual underlying infrastructure with a public cloud platform, but then you having direct access to the operating system, where you can then upload your own stuff onto that. A good example is this is like SQL. Often SQL is running in public cloud services, what's called platform as a service. But then you actually can have software as a service as well. So that will be utilizing services such as Microsoft 365, which is actually public cloud, but it's only the software that you're getting access to as opposed to the underlying infrastructure. Hi, Ian. Worst disaster that you're aware of one of your customers suffering? To be honest, the biggest one that we're seeing at the moment is around ransomware. That's the biggest disaster for us in terms of what we're seeing for clients that are coming to us, and that's the one that has pretty much the worst effect. The rise in ransomware, especially since my time in IT, has definitely grown rapidly, and it's not slowing down. The amount of partners that we get coming to us that have already been ransomware and they need services such as major incident response, where we're trying to sort that for them. It's not, I guess, one world disaster other than COVID, of course, but it's definitely something that's affecting, having a massive impact on business. Obviously, the next step after that really is the global pandemic and COVID, and everybody's kind of aware of the impact that that's had on people. And that has driven cloud and digital transformation massively, especially with what's happening with remote working. And I guess that's a good thing in terms of the remote working and what we're able to do now. It's given workers a lot more flexibility in being able to work from home, but actually it's changing massively the way that a lot of businesses work. A lot of businesses now are actually having to put in place measures to allow their workers to work from home because their competitors are doing that same thing, and potentially people no longer want to work directly 5 days a week in an office, and it's seen as quite a big benefit to be able to work from home as well. But yeah, I completely agree. COVID was obviously massive and it had a massive impact, but from our own experience, our customers were able to, and our partners were able to rapidly adjust to that because of the big strides and the big technology that was available. So things like Microsoft's massive. So the ability with Microsoft Teams to be able to work from home, be able to dial in every day. And once we were able to sort of migrate data to things like SharePoint, really that although the problem's not solved, it's workable, and you can sort of send people home and you can work around it. Cyber disasters sort of massive in that if a cyber attack gets you, potentially if you're not covered and say your backups get deleted and you're not using effective security in place, that you potentially lose everything rather than just having to send workers home. You potentially lose all of your data and your business comes to a standstill and your business can no longer operate. Just some more direct questions there. So advice when choosing the right vendor, top considerations would be, what I would look to do if I was using a vendor to help get me started with digital transformation. Experience is massive. You want a vendor that's got experience and has done it before, and also done before with great success. So look for things like case studies. Look on their website. Make sure that they actually are things like Gold Partner Standard. If you want to go to Microsoft, make sure you're using a partner that's got the accreditations in there, because that means ultimately they're doing certain revenue targets with Microsoft and they're actually doing business in that section and they have experience. Also look at the supporting teams and get in and meet the company if you can. When we're partnering with new people, we always try to get them in to actually see what Aspire is all about, because when you're in, you actually see the teams that are involved in the implementation side, and that's massive. You don't just want to, although it can sometimes be good to go to like an individual, depending on what your target is and how much data you're moving. Potentially you want a service that's going to be able to operate throughout the night if you're wanting to be able to move and migrate data without impacting your users. So yeah, looking at making sure they've done before, making sure they've got experience, but also making sure you've seen the deployment teams and you've also got a good relationship with them as well. Making sure that you get on, because ultimately cloud migration, it's a journey. It's not just one stop. It's not just pushing a button. It's making sure that your business gets the most and that you're also equipped, and it's not just a one-stop shop. It's ultimately a journey, and you want a partner that you can work together with moving forward. So you don't just want to do a migration and you're left on your own. You want to be able to bounce ideas off each other, and really get the most, and be more of a strategic partner as well, to be able to get the most out of the cloud. I think that's everything from my questions at the moment. It's pretty much coming up to the 45-minute time slot. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. I hope that you found it useful. If anybody does have any questions that you want me to follow up outside of the webinar, or if you really want to get in touch outside of it, just send me a message, send me an email, and I'll get straight back to you. Yeah, thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the Dynamo Northeast webinar. Thanks, everyone.